Hey everyone, I'm Jenn Foster here at Elite Online Publishing. And let me just say something that might sting a little bit. If you're doing podcast interviews and they're not turning into leads, then you're leaving money on the table. Not a little money, not a lot of money, but you are leaving a significant amount of money, okay? So a podcast is not just content, okay? It is borrowed trust. And when you are on someone else's audience, you're borrowing their trust and you're showing up so that you can have their audience listen to what you have to say so that you can bring value to them. And you're donating that value to the audience and you're paying for it with your own time, right? And so today I'm going to talk to you about how you can use podcasts and convert that podcast into a monetization podcast, right? Like making some money from podcasting instead of just being on the show and saying, I got that authority or I got to be on that show. So this is what you say in the first 2 minutes of your podcast, okay? Because the host is deciding in the first 2 minutes if you're credible. The audience is deciding, is this for me? Do I want to finish listening? Do I want to keep on listening to this podcast? And most guests, they waste time rambling through their life story. But here's what you need to do instead. So you need to have an authority positioning statement. That includes 3 things: who you help, what problem you solve, and what result you create. So it sounds like this. I help authors who struggle with marketing to get leads and customers by using their book, even when they don't want to do marketing. So it's the specific person who struggles with a specific problem on what they hate, right? So it needs to be simple, clear, and memorable. Because clarity makes you sound expensive and vague makes you sound like everyone else. So now we're going to talk about the framework about giving away, like how not to give away the whole store, right? Not give everything away. Because you want to talk to people, but they have a fear and you want to make sure that you're giving them the value they want. And the truth is that people don't pay you for your information. They pay you for your implementation, right? They pay you for your personalization. They pay you to shorten the path so they don't have to do figure out the problem, right? Everyone has a problem that they solve. And so you should share your framework in your podcast interview. But the key is not to share the whole map, right? Just give them the guide, but don't share the whole map. So you have the problem, the solution, and the next steps, but you don't give them the whole package, right? You only want to give them some of it. So there's a 3-step method that you can give them that will unpack the tools and help you. So you can say something like, here's the pillars, here's why they matter, and here's what happens when you apply them. And so when you do that, then you can anchor it with a quick story or a result. So stories sell, of course, and they build belief. And so belief creates action. So if you give a little bit of your framework and then you tell your story and then you get that credibility and it helps people to relate, right? So now the call to action. How do you do a call to action without sounding salesy? Because when you're really salesy, then it just fails, right? And salesy is kind of hard to say. But the biggest problem is maybe people don't give a call to action. And if you're at the end of the podcast and you don't have a free giveaway, or you're at the end of the podcast and you don't say, hey, go to my website, then that is a fail. That wasn't a good podcast interview. So you really need to have, what do you want people to do at the end of your podcast? Do you want them to visit your website and download a free thing that you give them? Because then you get their name and email. Do you want them to go buy your book on Amazon? Do you want them to go buy your book on Barnes & Noble? Do you want them to buy your book on your website? Maybe you have a free plus shipping, right? Or maybe you don't have a book at all, but you're just doing a podcast interview to get the credibility. And so you want them to go to your website to do a survey, to put in and get some results, right? So you want to have a call to action, but you don't want to be pushy. So you just want to offer something simple, something that matches your episode topic, something that matches your vibe and your information. So you don't want to say, follow me everywhere. You don't want to say, find me on LinkedIn, find me on all these places. You want to have a specific place where you want them to go, one place. Because the truth is people are really busy and they're listening to that podcast. And I know for me, when I'm listening to podcasts, sometimes I just like fast forward or stop the podcast. I don't even listen to the call to action because they're telling me to do too many things and I'm getting confused. So remember that people are really simple and they don't want to be confused. And so you just want to have something very specific. It needs to be free or low friction, like, they just put their name and email. You don't want them to put in a ton of stuff, right? Have them put their name and email first, a low barrier to entry. And then if you want them to do a survey, then you send the text or the email that says, here's your survey and here's your results. The last podcast interview I just did on Elite Expert Insider podcast, he gave away a survey at the end. And I guess when you fill it all out, you get a 20-page report, which is awesome, right? But it sounds like a lot. But also, if you're really seeking that, then you're going to go and fill out that survey, right? And he's giving away a lot because he wants to know if you are a good fit for him to work with, because he's a coach, right? He helps high-level businesses to achieve the next level. So that's why he has that system in place. So he's not just going on random podcasts so that he can, just be recognized and show his face everywhere. No, he has a specific reason why he's there. And that's to get people to go and fill out that survey. Because he wants to know if they're a good fit for him to coach them, to help their business get to the $1 billion level. And that's what he does is coaches high-level clients. So you really want it to be specific. You want it to be free or low friction. And you want to directly connect with what they just learned. So you don't want it to just be something random, right? It needs to be something that you just talked about. So it may sound, it may sound something like this. If you want the exact structure we use for this, I've made a free simple guide. Just grab it at eliteonlinepublishing.com/gift and I'll walk you through it step by step, right? Something like that. Or gift.eliteonlinepublishing.com will get you our book, the How to Write Your Story of Success. Like something very simple, right? You don't want it to sound pitchy and you don't want it to sound like, kind of simple like that. You just want it to be, here I have this something free for you. You can go grab it on my website. Here's the link, right? But if you're sounding pitchy or sounding salesy, then you're going to lose most of them. And it should be something focused. It shouldn't be sending them to your homepage of your website, because the homepage of your website, unless you have a good opt-in, put your name and email in to get something in return, it's going to be a waste of a podcast, right? Waste of your time. So the call to action should go to a focused landing page, right? And have a very clear opt-in. So that's it. So the last part of this video, I'm just going to talk about what happens after the episode, right? So of course, yes, you have the call to action. It's finished. You told them to go to the website. You told them to put their name and email in and get the free thing. But now here's where you got to have that funnel. So you got to have that CRM. You got to have a way for them to get that email afterwards, for them to say thank you for filling out and getting the free thing. Here's the link to the free thing. But then you have to have that funnel of what comes next. What's the follow-up system? What happens after that? Do they get an email a week later? Do they get a text? Do you go through their information and then call them or email them? Like, what is your funnel, right? So you got to think about what should happen next. So they click the link, they opt in, then they receive your automated email sequence. And that sequence should reinforce your authority. It should build your trust and route them to where you want them to go, whether it's calling you or booking a time with someone else on your team. So very simple, very strategic, and then it will be scalable. So those are the 4 things you need to do. Remember, you're going to help them to know who you are, what authority you bring, what clear problem you solve, and then the proof and the outcomes, and then invite them to the next step. So not everyone will opt in right away, but you just want to make sure when you're doing podcast interviews that you have that clear call to action, right? And then you have that follow-up system in place. Because going on a podcast and just hoping that you're going to get people to go do what you want them to do isn't going to work. You have to have a clear call to action and tell them what you want them to do. So let's get you booked on podcasts and start turning those podcasts into booked meetings and monetization, right? Now, if you don't know how to get booked on podcasts, that's something we can offer. That's something we can help you do. We have a podcast booking system that we help you get over, I think we send out 30 to 40 emails, maybe more than that, a week to help you get into the right podcast. Because you don't want just a random podcast to interview you. You want to make sure they're in your niche. You want to make sure it's something where you're talking in their language, right? Because then they're going to already have your ideal listeners. They're going to have, the host is going to have people that want to hear about what you have to say. So you don't want to be in a podcast where, you're talking about health and the podcast is about real estate. Like, that just doesn't work, right? So you really want to have that target audience. You want to have that niche. And so you want to make sure you're finding podcasts that are in your niche. So whether you're hiring a podcast booking agency or you're having us help you to pitch those podcasts, you just really want to search in your niche. So remember, you got to have the system, you got to have the follow-up system, the pipeline, and then you want to have that clear call to action, make it very simple, and make it easy, and make it so that the person listening is simple for them to just go to the website and put their name and email in. So if you're doing a lot of podcasts, but you're not getting monetization from it, or you're not making money from it, then just make sure that you get some help. So we can help you with your CRM. We can help you with your email and text funnels. Make sure you have that clean call to action, and reach out to us at eliteonlinepublishing.com. You can call us, you can text us. The numbers are at the top of the website there, and we can help you get booked on podcasts. We hope you have a wonderful day, and please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on our YouTube channel. Talk to you soon, or on Instagram or Facebook, or wherever you're viewing this video. Have a wonderful day.